Hi everyone, 2022 is pretty much finished. Luckily, it was full of great board games, and I want to talk about some really. I'm Tom, usually I'm playing through them. There's hundreds of playthroughs on this channel. Hope you enjoy some of them, but maybe you'll enjoy me talking about my favourites from this year. I've been strict this time, no honourable mentions, strictly 10, although things are flashing up that, oh, these almost made it, and these haven't arrived yet, or have just arrived, and there's no time to play them yet. Other than that, though, let's get into it. So number 10 is Carnegie, which is a game of expansion, of development, of building up a company, getting employees in it, shuffling those companies about a bit. So one of the things that makes the difference is that company that you have. It starts out with some basic departments, but you have, based on the available departments in your particular game, you have the opportunity to expand that and get more powerful abilities for you to build or move more workers or to get things out onto the board, give you more money so you can make your fancy donations to be all philanthropic and everything. So that is done by expanding out, but also you need to get your employees into those departments so you can get things that will help you get more employee movement, that will be more powerful versions of buildings that you already have. But yeah, you've got to navigate everyone around because you need to spend your movement points, spend money often to get them into the departments they need to be in, but a lot of those departments require them to leave and go out into America. So to get that ability again, you've got to get workers back, move them into those departments again, pay all over again. It's a lovely kind of balancing act of when do you want this stuff to happen, because the core of the action selection, one person will select which of the 4 possible things to choose. It's tied to a bonus, which might help some people more than others. It'll either let you donate, which is pay an increasing amount of money to get some endgame scoring, or bring back workers that you've placed onto the map to get some rewards, which exponentially increase as you do things throughout the game. And then take a main action, which everybody follows and has to pick as well. So there's a lot of, you can't leave yourself in a vulnerable position and skip too many actions. It will let you fall behind if you do that. You've got to kind of leave yourself flexible that you could pretty much do everything, but also kind of predict what other players might do. I can see that they're really geared up to put loads more development out or something. So I think they're going to pick that. I don't want to pick that, but I want to be ready for it for when they do, and I can do it for free. And I'll try and do something that they don't want, that they're not ready for. They've got no workers in that department. I'll choose that. Yeah, it's a really lovely balancing out between all of that stuff. There's loads of departments as well, especially if you get the expansion. Like I played mainly 2-player or solo. Like there are a few times in this where I played 3, maybe 4-player, but generally, yeah, two players or solo is my thing. And in a 2-player or solo game, which is the same setup for Carnegie, you remove a load of the departments, so it's going to be pretty fresh with the stuff that's available, or there's going to be big competition for certain ones that maybe only one of that particular department has come out. But if you get the expansion, which I think at the moment is only in the deluxe edition, but maybe it'll be available elsewhere for the normal edition too. I hope so, because it's just more abilities, so even more to mix and match. It's got a beautiful deluxe edition, but the basic edition as well, it's still got artwork by Tool. Will still be beautiful. Carnegie. Number 9 is Dice Theme Park. Love the artwork, love the theme. Want as many board games as possible about building up theme parks. Try and make them as much like the video game theme park as possible. Always trying to harken back to that. I was really pumped for the Kickstarter based on all of these things, and Dice Hospital, also from the same publisher, different designer though. I want a continuation of that, but it is quite different. In rather than grouping up dice and getting them treated so they can all be discharged at the same time to get the maximum potential out, there's a completely different thing you are focusing on here. So you're trying to build up your park. You're trying to get the best attractions, make them worth the most points, give them merch stands so they'll get you money and all that. Your guests though are dice that will enter your park, hopefully, and they will go on attractions. So your attractions will have all sorts of different criteria, like maybe, hey, I want a green guest. Any green guest can go on this attraction. So you get a green die onto that space. They will go on the attraction, score whatever the attraction scores, and tick down 1 pip. If they're now on 0, that guest's exhausted, they're going to leave the park. But if they're not exhausted, they can move for free to an adjacent space. And hopefully that space is going to be an attraction that they want to go on. So they can go on that and pip down again and pinball all across your park. The puzzle of trying to keep everyone in there, get all of your attractions used as much as possible, because they get more complex than just, hey, it needs to be a green die. It needs to be an odd and an even die. It needs to be a blue die, 4 or more, and then anything else. There's loads of different criteria in there, and you've of course got mascots and staff that you can get to help you move these people around and give you various abilities. It is so satisfying, so thematic as well. Absolutely love Dice Theme Park. Number 8 is My Father's Work, which is it's a competitive, interactive, gothic horror story game, kind of mixed with a worker placement game at the same time, and those things are pushing and pulling against each other all the way through. You will be given a load of story from one of the 3 main stories that come with the game. Eventually throughout the game, of course, they will go on all sorts of branching paths based on decisions we made, things that we found, on top of the 3 distinct starting themes from each of them. So we are mad scientists, basically. We couldn't help it. We were born into it. We need to complete our father's work, a series of gruesome, bizarre, spooky experiments that will hopefully result in us completing our masterwork over the course of generations. It's a cool thematic thing that we are playing through rounds as different generations of the same family, passing through very little but some important things to future generations to be able to complete more and more complex experiments. You will be building up your estate. You will be interacting with the story through worker placement as well. Spots will be added and changed and removed based on what the story demands. You might need to, hey, something strange has popped up. There's a spooky tent in the middle of the field. Hey, who wants to go over and investigate that? You might find out something secret. We might have secret votes. We might be bidding for things. There's all sorts of surprises mixed in just from my kind of limited experience as well, because it's a long game. Like, the reason I haven't played it tons more, it's multiplayer only, by design, and it's long. Even at 2 players, it takes over 3 hours, but for the time that I have been able to spend with it, I love getting involved in the story. As I said, it's gothic horror, and it mixes between being a kind of homage to it, a more serious one, to being a more silly version, a parody of it sometimes. It just works really well. No matter which kind of flavor it's deciding to go at the time, it just flows really nicely, and it interacts really well with the game that we are playing around it too. It comes across as a real labor of love, and I've massively enjoyed My Father's Work. Number 7 is Revive. We are thematically trying to revive the human race. There's been an extinction event. We have got to try and pull things together, and we will be playing a beautifully satisfying, it's not a puzzle game, but there is some puzzly gameplay of this card play. You have a load of cards that have a top action, a bottom action, a player board with loads of slots in it, and depending on where you play the card, a different bit will be visible, and they will be the rewards that you can get. You can of course upgrade that player board later on, and so when you play cards to that slot, you will get more and more things, but you've got to be able to clear things out to be able to use that again. Your slots will all fill up and you won't be able to play any cards. You will be able to improve the selection of cards that you have as well, get better and better cards, maybe focused more on a particular strategy that you want to go down. There's a great big map that needs to be explored. We need to find out what's out there. Just come in above ground for the first time in who knows how long, and then try and build stuff, try and build toward things, get these artifacts that will help us, depending on which ones we get, will help us towards various end game scoring conditions. There are a load of tracks on your player board that you will interact with, progress along, unlock bonuses, but a load of the tracks are tied together, so you've got to do a bit of something else to be able to unlock the upgrade in the track that you are really strong in. It is so satisfying. The solo mode, the solo modes have been great in Carnegie and Dice Theme Park, so I didn't really go into it, but Carnegie cheats. Carnegie's too good, but in Revive, you are not so much playing against a bot, you are playing against time. Every time you do certain things, it will progress a timer along, so you've only got so long to get everything done, and it really does push you. Although you aren't playing against something, it is really tense with the time that you have been given to accomplish everything. Just really satisfying when you can get things done. It's absolutely love it. It's Revive. Number 6 is Woodcraft. We're woodland elves building lovely things for each other. We're building workshops. We are crafting nice things. We are filling attics full of tools. There are all sorts of things going on. You need to focus on a few of them and try and do the best you can in what is a really, really tight, tense game. There is not very much margin for error in this. You have dice that represent the wood that you've got. You can grow it. You can get all sorts of upgrades for your workshop that allow you to manipulate these dice. You need specific combinations of colours and numbers to be able to fulfill orders and do all sorts of things, as you might expect. But you can split dice up, you can chop dice, you can glue dice together. And throughout all of these things, you can try and fulfill these orders. You can take an order and it goes on your player board. If you can fulfill it pretty soon, great, but the longer you leave it, you'll start to incur penalties. The customers will get fed up and go somewhere else, and you'll get a big punishment for that. So you've got to weigh up, how worried am I about someone else taking it versus how soon can I do this? Because if I take it and then can't do it for ages, it was pointless doing it. It's harmed me more than helped me. The rewards you get from those can really propel you to doing more things. You can try and fill up that attic that will get you loads of bonuses for making connections between all sorts of the tools that you get up there. The upgrades to your workshop can make you way, way more flexible in the wood that you've got available and get you some instant rewards for doing some of the things as well. And also, there is a beautiful action wheel where as actions don't get used, they become more powerful. You can kind of skip ahead as much as you want. If you really need to do a particular thing, you can skip way ahead of everyone else, but the wheel will rotate and make the older actions more attractive. So the people that are really far behind on that wheel, if they don't skip forward very much and take these further behind actions, they can get increasing rewards based on how far back they are. And if you skip too far ahead, you're potentially stuck in the front where you don't get any of these juicy bonuses at all for doing the actions. It can be tight, it can be tough, but it can be so satisfying when it all works out and you've got a glorious workshop going. That is woodcraft. Number 5 is Wayfarers of the South Tigris. I've played the West Kingdom trilogy a ton in its various forms and expansions and things. You can see a lot of my plays on this channel at this point. There is a new trilogy in town though, the South Tigris. We are trying to, we're wayfaring, aren't we? We are looking at the lands, the seas, the skies around us and trying to build up a tableau of cards. The cards might give us bonuses when we take more cards. Dice placement spots. Our dice have they correspond to a little grid on our player boards that will give certain numbers extra symbols. At the start of the game, we don't have many faces that are that useful to us, and certain worker placement spots want symbols to be present. But we can get tiles throughout the game that upgrade our grid and make more and more numbers more important, will allow us to adjust the dice to the numbers that we might really need. You can explore the skies as well and get loads of endgame scoring criteria, some relating to getting a load of sky-based cards, some relating to other things that you'll be doing in the game. You can get prestigious cards that will double those if you satisfy different conditions as well. You can get townsfolk that will help you out. Rather than needing to improve the faces on your die, you can get townsfolk that will provide you with a symbol for a particular action they tuck underneath. It's really neat. And so you can just put any die there in future, or you can get townsfolk that power up the action so it does more things for you, or give you more things when you decide to rest if you've used a load of your dice. There is so much kind of interaction, combo action going on between all of these things. There's worker placement involved as well. Everyone starts with a couple of workers, and around the board every card has a worker placement spot related to it that certain workers can go to. Not only does it give you an extra option for your turn, extra ways of getting the things that you want, it also kind of makes the cards more incentivized as well. There might have been a card that you kind of liked, but hey, now it's got a worker on it, so if I take it, it's got a worker on it, and I'll be able to do something else in the future, especially as the green workers start to come out that can give you access to the more powerful actions. The solo is incredibly satisfying as well. It's not really playing against you, it's kind of doing its own thing, taking a load of things away, but you can put influence out, which is a thing you can do in multiplayer as well, to try and dissuade other people taking cards that you're interested in, or to just put it down on cards they're interested in, so you'll get paid. They'll either avoid the card or have to pay you to be able to interact with it. Because there's this kind of ocean of possibilities among all of these cards and actions and and things, it does kind of feel early on, especially, like I don't know what the path through this is. I don't see like a combination that can particularly help me. So I just kind of get stuck in. And once like I've got a few things down, you're just cruising and having a great time with especially when all of the combos start kicking off. So satisfying. I just keep saying everything's satisfying this year. Don't know why. It is though. I'm pretty satisfied, I suppose. That's Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Number 4 is Seize the Bean. We're baristas. We're running a coffee shop. We are doing deck building, but our deck is our queue of customers. I have been going on about this for ages and ages and ages. I did a playthrough of a prototype about 4 years or something ago, and it's taken a while in production, but now it is here. It is glorious. It is this, well, not a humongous box actually. It's a reasonably small box packed with an enormous amount of things. Talking about customers, there are a few different types in each game. There's like 20 odd types in there. You mix these customer types together out in a display that we can grab from. The customers end up forming your queue. You don't necessarily get cards to play them as you would in a kind of normal deck builder. Instead, based on your hype, you will draw a certain number of customers and they need to be served. You need to have coffee beans, sugar, milk for them depending on what their particular request is. They'll often have a bonus request that can get you an extra reward if you can do that. If you don't serve them, they get angry. If they get too angry, they'll even give you a bad review. You want good reviews. They're the points. But you can also get cards that upgrade actions. There's a bit of worker placement as well. Everyone's got 2 workers and the same 6 actions, but we can get upgrade cards that will upgrade those actions. So rather than just getting a couple of milk a time, you could get a couple of milk and a good review and maybe get to take some extra cards and stuff based on the different combinations that are in your game and the path you want to go down. There's so many districts built in with kind of suggested ways to play. Hey, maybe you want some more player interaction. Maybe you want really complex ones. You want really fast playing ones. There's so much thought of already, but you can just kind of throw your own together if you want to as well. Absolutely beautiful components like these kind of resin sugar cubes and milk bottles and croissants and stuff. Some of them are Kickstarter-y things, but so many variants built on top as well. There's a solo mode with 20 levels of difficulty that you can play against as you progress and get better and better at the game. There's a variant where rather than just serving sugar, which translates to whichever snack the guest particularly wants, you can kind of at the start of the day pre-make the specific things you hope that your customers will like, because you've attracted these customers. You should kind of know what they want. It works beautifully. All of my expectations that are built up in my head over that prototype that I had briefly all that time ago, have been really matched, exceeded, and I've had a massive amount of fun with it. So pleased that it's finally here and that it's fantastic. Seize the bean. Number 3 is Lands of Galzir, a big storybook adventure kind of game, cooperative, competitive, it's up to you, set in the same world as such fantastic games as Dale of Merchants, still one of the best deck builders around, and Dawn of Peacemakers, hey, a game where we're trying to make peace. We are trying to kind of stop an AI controlled war game happening around us by being nice to people in that. It's a fantastic campaign game that you can see a playthrough of as well, and of Dale of Merchants. Yes, this kind of similar setting. We are woodland critters. We're in the same kind of world, but we're in the lands of Galzir. We are having adventures. You start a character, you get given a kind of basic quest to start you off, and from then, you explore the lands of Galzir, do what you want, go to the notice boards of various towns, pick up new quests, they will signpost where you might need to go, and you just need to get on with it. You do checks with dice that will improve based on your skills. If you want to do a particular check and you have that skill, you get to roll special dice that will have that symbol. It'll be more prevalent on it, but you can also roll it if you're testing against an adjacent skill. There's this nice kind of wheel of skills system that works out. The storybook is in an app, which means it can hide information until it's necessary to show you, and it can be updated and expanded and stuff without needing to print more things. And there is a fantastic sense of adventure in it. I don't want to play down, I feel like when I've talked about it before, making it sound like there aren't stakes in it. There are still stakes. You're sometimes having tiny little whimsical encounters with things, but there are big things happening in the lands of Galzir that you can have an effect on, that you will encounter throughout the game. And one of the big things about it is that you will have a session, and when the winner is declared, or if you're playing cooperatively, when we count how much renown we've got collectively and see what result that gets us, you pack it all away, and then next time you bring it out, you persist. Your characters have some of the things they had with them at the end of the last quest, whether that is items, companions, things that might only last a few rounds with you, but give you loads of keywords that will help you out with the various encounters that you have. But the world persists as well. Things that we have changed, things that we have made available, decisions that we have made will persist and make a difference to your future game. So it's not strictly a campaign that we are playing through and doing, specific scenarios and things like that. You are much freer to kind of go your own way and let your experience shape things, but the world itself is persisting. It is being changed by the things that we are doing through it, and I think it is really impressive. And basically I want to play it a million times and see what I can find in there. But yeah, I've had a fantastic time, as you might be able to tell by, if not this, then the other entries. I love a good story mixed in with my game, and Lands of Galaxy, going more on the story side of things, works absolutely beautifully. I can't wait to dig in more. Number 2, I think, is the only entry on this list that I haven't got a playthrough for so far, hopefully in the future. It is Oathsworn, which is an enormous campaign scenario boss battling game, mixed with a great big kind of choose your own adventure system as well. So it's kind of split into 2 sections. There is a story part of a chapter that you will play. You will make loads of choices. You will spend money. You will improve your characters. You will do all sorts of things, uncover what's going on in this particular chapter. And all of that will lead to an encounter against some kind of boss, some kind of enemy. You've got a ton of characters to choose from, all with their own ability decks. So as 2 players, we've only played with a small selection of those characters. You've got to play with 4 characters at a time, but don't let that put you off, because it's got a great way of having those non-player characters. So you could just have 2 characters each if you wanted to, but you can turn characters into companions instead, which gives them a simplified rule set. They don't have a hand of ability cards. They've just got 1 card with a couple of abilities that you choose at the start of the game. They've got a more limited number of actions, but those actions are more powerful. So you are still having, a character with impact that doesn't require, as much heavy lifting as a proper character that you're playing. But you've got your ability cards that work in your particular character's playstyle. They've got, an action point cost to be able to use them, but also they have got a really cool cooldown system, where there are, things will either go on cooldown for 0, 1, 2, or 3. And that corresponds to slots around your player board, not rounds that you can't use them again. At the end of a round, you pick up all of the things that are in slot 0, but they don't just naturally progress. Some abilities will let you move things around a bit, but say I have got cards already in the 2 cooldown slot, and I play another 2 cooldown card, everything I've got in that slot goes to the 1. And I play another 1 card, everything in that 1 slot, including the things that were already in there, will go to the 0, and now I can have them back and use them next round. It is a really cool way of doing things that I don't feel like I have I've seen anything quite like it. The bosses have got completely different stat cards, special rules boards, and ability decks that will define their behavior, and getting increasingly more frightening as you progress through the stages of the fight. You can fight different sections of them based on your positioning, based on the things that you are doing, and damaging certain sections might affect the abilities they try to do later. Like if the enemy you're fighting has got a really ferocious chomp and you manage to damage their fangs, then that attack isn't going to be as powerful next time. But you don't know that in advance, really. You don't know what's going to affect what until you get kind of a feel for the kind of things that that boss does in particular. I found myself really engrossed in the story, and I absolutely love every second of the fight as well. Trying to navigate my way through, positionally on the map, and trying to be useful continually with my cards, trying to make sure that we're not all vulnerable to some pretty immense attacks that kind of early in we've been pretty shocked and almost decimated by things that we weren't quite prepared for. There's a brilliant factor of you can do dice, or you can do cards which have the same probability as the particular coloured dice that you'll be rolling. But yeah, you can either go completely random every time, or you can go for cards that, if everything messes up and you just miss everything, hey, that's rubbish, but next time you've gotten rid of loads of the rubbish cards, so it's more likely you'll do something great next time. Love that part of it. And also particularly love, there's loads of tokens that
you exist in tons of games that, hey, here's a reroll, here's this, here's roll some more powerful dice, and adjust things. So even if you've spent tokens to draw better cards or roll better dice than you normally would, you've spent a load of rerolls because you missed, and it's a just stacking thoughts, nesting thoughts inside each other. It's a lovely dice system in particular as well, that you kind of decide how many dice you want to roll. You can roll up to 10 for a lot of the things, but if you roll 2 misses, 2 blanks, that's just a miss. So you have to weigh up. I want to do tons of damage, but the more dice that I roll, the more likely it is that I miss and do non-damage. Yeah, you can redraw, re-roll the blanks to try and avoid your misses. But if you do miss completely, and you've spent all of this stuff to do it, and you're devastated, hey, not only have you gotten rid of those bad cards, but also all the tokens that you spent come back, and hey, you can pick another token for next time. So not only have you got a better chance of you or another player getting to the good cards, you haven't wasted all of your extra tokens on an attack that ultimately did nothing. Hey, this turn you did do nothing, and you still spent your mana to play the card. You still have lost the card for however long. But hey, at least you got that stuff back and you can do something else next time. Gone on for way too long about that specific point. The crits explode as well. It's something that I love in the Brook City or Altar Quest, where that's all just with dice. But hey, the cards crit as well. So if you get a crit in this, no matter what your method, then you draw another card. And if that's a crit, hey, you keep going. But if that ends up missing, then it doesn't count towards your overall miss. Yeah, that's another lovely, exciting system as well.
It's a gorgeous production as well. The miniatures are quite big, a lot bigger than any other game that I think I've really played. And especially, hey, get onto things that aren't some of the characters. You'll see some enormous miniatures. But yeah, just the character figures are beautifully detailed, and they can have like swappable bits so you can change their army. Some of these bits are like, it was a Kickstarter, so some bits will be like extra modules to put on there. Like I think it comes with standees for the bosses, but you can get chests that have minis for them. There's minis for terrain, which are just kind of hexes in the box, but you can get these enormous trees and houses and things to put out onto the board. Like, I'd like to show you a picture. I don't know, it's all spoilers, isn't it? I don't know if I should spoil even Fight 1 to show you some of that stuff, but based on things I've been doing in other games, hey, I can do rudimentary painting. I can slap speed paint on things, so that's really added to it as well, that I've kind of gone to the trouble of putting some paint on some stuff, and it looks all lovely when it's out, and we're having a proper fight in the woods and stuff, and it's lovely. But yeah, immensely satisfying, engrossing game that I've still got a ton to get through on, and even after completing an entire campaign of it, there would be so many different choices to get through, I feel like, but also like the character choice that you could have. We could even just switch to the characters that we've got as companions, and some other, like, I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, there's so much variety in what we can do just in that, and facing the same boss again. They've got the same behavior deck, but the way that things came out, in a different order, could make for a massively different fight as well, which is what you want really in it. But yeah, I've been massively impressed by Oathsworn. It's time for number 1. Long-time viewers, hey, maybe you don't even need to be that long-time viewers to have guessed what this might be. Its predecessor is my favourite game ever, and so a new version of it with more things is sure to get me pretty excited, isn't it? It is Frosthaven, which is just kind of sneaking in there, as is Oathsworn. We haven't had Oathsworn that long, but yeah, Frosthaven is the great big bigger brother of Gloomhaven, bringing with it all of the beautiful, satisfying, puzzly dungeon crawling of here is your class, here are your ability cards. You play 2, do the top bit of one, the bottom bit of another. Try not to die, try to succeed in the scenario. Another huge chest of different monster types, some recurring from Gloomhaven, but loads and loads of new ones. A complete new set of, is it like 16 classes, 17 classes, some which you start the game with, some will be unlocked throughout the game. An enormous scenario book that I kind of feel like will keep us going until the end of time. I think kind of secondary to my fawning love of Gloomhaven, full disclosure, and I still don't really know how or believe that it's real, but Rach and I designed a couple of scenarios for Frosthaven, so bear that in mind. I hope you find them, and I hope you really like them. I really enjoyed making them. I'm looking forward to hopefully coming across them. Maybe we won't even find them. But as well as all of those lovely Gloomhaven-y things, even if it was just, hey, here's a new box and here's some more stuff and a whole new set of scenarios, I would just be immensely satisfied from that. There is an outpost phase, so we are in the frozen wilds of Frosthaven, a kind of bare bones outpost that is in trouble, well, especially once the elements hit it. There's a kind of seasonal aspect, so there are different decks now for summer and winter that will change the events that are available to us, as well as the stuff from Gloomhaven that certain choices we're making, certain things that we will find will affect what's in those event decks. But now there is a resource gathering aspect rather than just picking up coins in the scenarios and buying things from the shop and hoping to unlock new things as the prosperity of Gloomhaven increases. We are now trying to find other resources. We are doing resource gathering, we can do crafting, we can do building, we can upgrade buildings and find more things and build more things, build defenses for Frosthaven. There's the potential for it to get attacked, believe it or not, in these dangerous times. There's a whole kind of extra section on top of the scenario or two that you are playing in a session. You know, I loved the events and the way they progressed with certain other systems of the game in Gloomhaven. So yeah, I never had any complaints. But now this outpost phase is here, and we're having, it's early days, admittedly. Hey, I'm definitely not filming this pretty much at the time it's supposed to come out. Hey, I'd never be that last minute about it. But in our limited experience so far, I've really enjoyed seeing what we might be able to do as we unlock these stages of the outposts, seeing all of the secrets. There are envelopes. There are tons of classes that we haven't even got access to yet. The ones that we are playing, the Blink Blade and the Geminate, they work so differently to anything that we played in Gloomhaven, and you could pretty much say that for loads of the Gloomhaven classes as well. That's just kind of a recurring chorus every time you got a new character. Wow, this is nothing like the character that I've played before. I'm really, really enjoying just being back in it as well. Like, as a kind of fawning superfan, it is just lovely being back in that font, back in those dungeons, seeing some familiar faces and plenty of new ones, seeing the kind of tweaks to the graphic design and lovely little improvements and things on top of all the major systems. Happy to be back, flipping modifier cards, happy to be missing and reshuffling, hoping for those double damages, which, to be fair, it's been fairly generous with so far. But yeah, kind of goes without saying. It was at the point, I think, not long after Gloomhaven that I pretty much exempted it from all the top 10s that I did, because as loads of topics were coming up that Gloomhaven would just come the top of. So I just thought, exempt it and let some other games shine. But for things that I've had this year, I suppose, it is coming in right at the end, and there's loads of games that flashed up at the start that, hey, have come out around the same time that I haven't got yet, or have just come late. There's been trouble getting things around here at the moment, but they will get covered in 2023, I hope, because there's loads of stuff that's like right over here that I'm itching to get played, but hey, time, it doesn't wait for us, does it? We're going to get to them though, and there's going to be a whole array, a menagerie of beautiful 2023 games, I'm sure. Maybe we'll be talking about those in January as well. There's playthroughs out for all of these. If I've intrigued you about any of these games that you might not have heard of before, there are playthroughs for all of them right now but Oathsworn, but hopefully that will have one as well in the fairly near future. If you'd like to see other playthroughs, there's hundreds on this channel. If you'd like to help me out and keep me making videos and let me make more, then there's a link to my Patreon and Ko-fi in the description. Massive thanks for any time that you have spent with me, and even bigger thanks for all of your support as well, it genuinely makes it possible. I'm just a person living in, this is my house. This is just a camera that's on a table. yeah, I love doing this, and yeah, I've been doing it a bit of a while now, and yeah, I really appreciate that I get to keep doing it basically, and just rave about all of these things that I've had a massive amount of fun with. You know, I see things. It pretty much happens every year, doesn't it? Because different tastes, different people will pop up. Algorithms on social media will want to show you controversy or negativity, and so it always comes up that, oh, this year has been pretty rubbish for games, hasn't it? And especially when it comes for the time for me to kind of list everything that I've played this year and then start to rank my favorites from it, I always think like, no, I'm having real trouble paring it down to, well, pretty much like 30-20 all the time. Carving it down to 10 was so difficult, and there's loads of like there's barely any gaps between loads of these positions as well. So many of these could just be swapped over on a different day, getting out of the other side of bed, because yeah, there's so much I have enjoyed. But yeah, it's if you're me, it's been a great year for gaming, and hopefully it has for you as well. Maybe not even with these particular ones. There's going to be some great stuff though, I hope, coming up very soon. There's more playthroughs coming up next week. There might not be any live things, but there'll be live things coming up very soon as well. Thank you from someone that just loves games and likes making videos about them, for making it all happen by just spending time with me and subscribing and whatever you do, really. Thank you for this year, because it's been a lovely one. Have a lovely Christmas, stroke New Year, stroke just day, however you're spending it, whatever point in the future you're watching this. I know there's a very limited time when this jumper is appropriate, but thank you very much, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.